Headline at the top reads Bridges Helpdesk. Horizontal view of a suspension bridge erected over a body of water. The email address, helpdesk@imagemd.org, appears centered below the base of the bridge and above the water. On the left side of the bridge are the words high school, and on the right side of the bridge are the words college and jobs. Next is the multicolored logo of the Maryland State Department of Education and the words, "This unique project is being coordinated through the Image Center of Maryland, a center for independent living in Towson, and it is funded by a grant from the Maryland Department of Education Division of Special Education/Early Intervention Services."
Hello, everyone. This is Hindley Williams with the Bridges Transition Help Desk, and we are joined by some fabulous guests today. We've got Carlton and Cook Walker, who is our project manager, and we're also joined by two small business owners. So I'm going to give them both an opportunity to introduce themselves and share with you a little bit about the small businesses that they own or have owned in the past. So let's start with you, Eileen.
Okay, my name is Eileen Rivera Ley, and I live in Towson, Maryland. And I am the proud owner and operator of my own little training company. It's called Blind Savvy USA. And Blind Savvy USA is a company that helps to deliver innovative workshops and training to help empower people with disabilities, as well as to help employers connect with quality disabled employees. We do a lot of our work through collaborations and partnerships. It's a great joy to own my company, and it's a great responsibility and burden as well. But I'm very happy and glad that I get to be an entrepreneur and to make the final decisions for my company.
Thank you so much. And Mike?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Bullis. I've had several, maybe too many businesses in my life. My first one was a gas station and a motorcycle shop when I was in my 20s in a little town up in Washington State. And then later I had my own contracting business to do work for the legislature in Oregon. I owned several bars and restaurants and a deli in the 90s. So I've done a lot of it. I thought that Eileen said something really important. She said the joys, the responsibilities, and what was it? The anxiety? No. Well, just as a comment, everybody says, oh, I want to be my own boss. And my experience with businesses is they're the worst boss I ever had, because they don't care whether I'm sick. I can't call in and give them an excuse, sorry, I can't do that. The business, if you're paying attention to it, will tell you what to do. It won't make you do it. You have to really decide in your decision about whether you think you want to have a small business are you motivated enough to do it? And, each of us has our own levels of motivation and our own levels of what we can and can't do. We're not all equal when it comes to our abilities or our capacities or our energy levels. And so business for me has always been sort of finding out what works. And then, and by the way, that gas station and motorcycle shop I mentioned as my first retail business, that was a failure. I lost all of my money, and I had to recall what my grandmother taught me. She always said, remember that prayer, Mike. It's God help me laugh about the things now that I'll laugh about 10 years from now. And I must tell you, I couldn't laugh. It was very devastating at the time. Yes, I got over it. And yes, there came a time when I could, sort of laugh about some of my foibles in owning a gas station and a motorcycle shop. But business over the years, I've found that I like it better. Not only does your business tell you what to do, and you don't have to worry about whether somebody will hire you or fire you. You make your own decision. I got really tired of going to employers who said they didn't want to hire me. And I thought, well, I guess one thing about being in business is I don't have to worry about my boss firing me or telling me that because I'm blind, I can't do this, or because I'm blind, I can't do that. I was free to experiment, do what I wanted to do. So anyway, that's probably a lot more than you wanted as a start off, but those are some of the thoughts that have been in my head about this today.
Actually, I think when you're an entrepreneur, every customer you have is your boss. So you think you have to answer, you don't just have to answer to one or two supervisors. Everybody who is paying you or who you hope to engage in business is going to tell you what to do and how they want it done. So sometimes it's too many bosses.
That's true. That's right. Yep.
I'm not a blind entrepreneur, but I am an entrepreneur, and I echo both of you are saying, and it can be really hard when you're starting out. Carlton, sorry, I should have said that earlier. But knowing your capacity and knowing that your capacity can change. I went from a full-time law office to part-time in my home because I couldn't pay rent because my stepchild became very ill and I needed to be with him. And that's okay. And give yourself permission. If you or someone you care about or your life changes, give yourself that permission. Yes, there are going to be consequences, but accept that it's okay to make changes. And the other thing is, I'm an attorney, and they taught us in law school almost from the first day, and I think it's important for every entrepreneur. Be careful who becomes your client. You have, I see both Mike and Eileen nodding, and maybe y'all want to talk about that, because like every client is your boss, and you can choose to maybe not have that person as your boss.
Well, and I would go back to the very beginning of business and say this: businesses need your talent and they need your hard work. And invariably, they also need money. And the stupidest thing I ever thought when I was first getting into business is, I don't have any money, but that's okay. I'll work around. I can make up for that. It's hard to make up for the fact that you don't have any money. I grew up in a fairly poor family. I didn't have money. I later learned in some of my businesses that the thing I really needed in order to make the business be successful was a job. In other words, I went and got a job while I was developing my business because it couldn't support me. And if you make your business support you too soon, then it's like starving your child. The business can't afford to support you, maybe. So what you have to pour money into the business, you have to pour that time, you have to pour that talent, but money is big, and don't minimize the fact that, and of course, the other one I did when I was doing the restaurants in the 90s, I borrowed money on credit cards to get ahead in some of these restaurants. And that's really high interest money. It became very burdensome. At one time I had over $100,000 in credit card debt that I had to ultimately pay off, et cetera. But, that burdens your business with all kinds of debt that I don't regret. I'm not sure there was another way to do it necessarily. In other words, I didn't have any money. So you do what you can with what you got. Right. And banks, by the way, just in case don't go to the bank and ask them to borrow money on your business. Banks don't loan money on businesses. They'll loan money to you if you have a house or something you want to put up as collateral, but banks aren't risk takers. They don't give you money to start businesses. They're in the business of making secured loans.
Right. Yeah, I think you make an excellent point that just jumping in and trying to support yourself full time from a small business is nearly impossible. So I was blessed that I could start on a part-time basis while I was doing other full-time work. But then when I went on to be a mom, I could then work part-time through my consulting practice and grow. And that only was easy because I had a partner who had a full-time job with benefits and such. So that definitely was an easier entryway than to just start as a full-time service provider with no capital. So you really do need resources. I was thinking about, when you think about what kind of business you want to be in, you want to try to think about your skills and abilities. And you also want to think about the market and what do people need? Because the worst thing that happens is to try to create a business around something you like or enjoy without figuring out if other people like or enjoy or are willing to pay for that item, right? So really, all business is solving a problem for your customers. So you want to make sure that you have identified what the problem is and identified solutions that will benefit your customers.
Absolutely. This is all really excellent advice. I want to ask you specifically, both of you, are there any challenges specific to blindness that you had to navigate as people starting out in the small business world?
Well, I guess I would say this: you need to get good blindness skills, whatever that means to you with your visual situation, whatever that is, you need to be able to read and write. You need to be able to use your computers well. You need to be able to travel. If you can travel with a cane or a dog, you need to be able to do that well. If you travel with vision, you can't fake that. If you got good vision for travel, use it. And if you don't have good vision and you're constantly fumbling around and not doing well, admit that and move on. Businesses are, as I said, you might work for an employer who will say, oh, it's okay if you don't use your cane around the building here and you run into stuff. We don't care. Your business really will care because it will suffer over time. So I guess my advice is get good skills, get those skills and use them and hone them so that your blindness can be minimized in terms of how it affects your business.
That's really good. I think it's important to think about yourself as part of the product that you offer. And as a blind entrepreneur, we stick out, and we can stick out for great reasons. I always tell my students when I teach them to network is like, we could go into a meeting of 100 people, and if we're the only blind person, people will notice us, which could open doors and lead to opportunities for your business. But you're going to have to be able to put your best foot forward and dress well and be confident and have good posture and have those blindness skills so that you can then function at a regular pace, right? We got to be able to do things as quickly as other people. And then I would also say, though, that no one is good at everything. So in addition to having your skills, you got to figure out where you can supplement the skills you don't have. Okay. So if you're not good in accounting and bookkeeping, you make sure you've identified someone who can do that part of the job, because you don't want to get yourself into trouble. So it's true. Nobody can be good at everything, or perhaps you're good at everything, but spending your time, for example, laying out a flyer, designing an ad, may be a very poor use of your time when you might rather be spending and investing your time to get a new customer. That you can have someone else who is less involved in the business do something that's going to help with the marketing, for example.
Yep. Prioritize. What is it
Yeah.
that I can best use my talents to get done? And then if I can't do certain things, or if I've decided those aren't things I should spend my time on, who have identified that I know that I can hire or that I can use somehow to get those things done?
Oh, this is all so helpful. Thank you so much. So you all have given a lot of really useful tips already. But for my final question, I want to ask you both to share one all-encompassing piece of advice for an aspiring small business owner.
Just one. No. Well, I think it's super smart. Let's say if you're going to decide you want to open a business that sells coffee, that you go work in another business that sells coffee, and you could learn from someone else, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. There's so much knowledge out there. You just have to figure out who knows how to do stuff and learn from them, and then go out, and you'll have much better chance of having a successful business if you can learn on someone else's dime, I like to say.
I love that. That's a great point about mentorship.
That's the best piece of advice of all. Go and see if you can get a job. It's not always possible for us as blind folks to be able to get somebody to hire us, say, take the gas station motorcycle shop example that I used early on. I don't know to this day, even though I've managed several restaurants, I don't know that I could get a restaurateur here in Baltimore to hire me as a manager. I suspect I would have to do what I actually did, which was start out as a dishwasher and work my way up. Just because that's the nature of blindness, people are not going to hire you. So yes, if you can get that experience, it is worth its weight in real gold, in real money, because going into a business cold and not knowing how to do the work and not having had the opportunity to watch people do what you want to do, it's almost a killer. It's the number one reason why businesses fail, and that's lack of direct knowledge.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time today and for your wonderful words of wisdom. And thank you all for watching our Tip Tuesday video for National Mom and Pop Business Owners Day. And we thank you all so much.
Okay.
Thank you
both, and thank you, Henley.
Thank you.
Please contact the free Bridges Helpdesk anytime through accessible web form, through text, send to 410-305-9199, Email helpdesk@imagemd.org. Website imagemd.org/bridges-help-desk. Voicemail, call 443-320-4003. Leave a voicemail message and we will return your call. Facebook page, facebook.com/Bridges for Maryland Blind Low Vision Transition. This unique project is being coordinated through the Image Center of Maryland, a center for independent living in Towson, and it is funded by a grant from the Maryland Department of Education Division of Special Education/Early Intervention Services.